It's that part. Oh, there we go. It's that part of Oregon that's like basically Idaho.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that is awesome. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to introduce ourselves and then be ready to hop into the three C's of a thriving workplace. Emily, why don't you go first?
Yeah, my name is Emily Catherine. I am CEO of Emily Catherine Coaching, and I work primarily in the healthcare field, specifically in hearing healthcare. Um, and I'm a customer experience coach.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing customer experience coaching?
It's been about almost 4 years.
That's awesome.
Still,
Fantastic.
still new, still green.
We're learning and we're growing, right? Fantastic. My name is Mike Conn, and I am CEO of Mike Conn Coaching and Consulting here in Oklahoma. I am a professional speaker and an author of Communication Culture Volume 1. That's my first book, and intend to, certainly theoretically, there'll be a volume 2 and then maybe 3, and who knows what else comes in that. Emily and I are both exactly what to say certified, which means we have some pretty cool resources that we get a chance to utilize as well. You're going to see some of that today. We've got some exactly what to say role play cards. We've got a workbook that we'll show to you a little bit and share a little bit from here as well. I'm excited that she and I both get a chance to bring this content to you today. We've done a lot of work in the past several weeks to get to this point. We've actually got three different sessions we're going to bring to you all for free this week, today, next Tuesday, and then the following Tuesday. We've got more information to share with you about that. Everything that we do is designed to help people have better conversations. We want you to have better conversations at home, at work, and in your community, wherever it is that you go and do whatever it is that you do. We hope that these will be tools that will help you be able to do that. Specifically today, we're talking about three C's to a thriving workplace. Emily, let's go ahead and share how about this? I'll go ahead and share what C number one is. That's culture. Culture is simply the way we do what we do and the way we allow it to be done. Now, it's very, very difficult for me to just say that line. Whenever I'm doing a live presentation, this is certainly live, it's live online. Whenever I'm doing it, I do say culture, and I say this: the culture is the way we do what we do and the way we allow it to be done. But in my mind, I hear, this is how we do it. Like it's just Montel straight coming at you the whole time. And it's that's kind of a setup to what we're going to be talking about a little bit later on. But the first C that we're talking about today is culture. What's the second C we're talking about, Emily?
Second C is connection. If I can type. And connection starts with curiosity. It's curiosity speaks before judgment, and that's how connection is built. Um, and I also like to think of it as this intentional influence, trust, and gratitude. They're all cultivated through meaningful conversations, and that then in turn leads to connection. And then our third C is clarity. And clarity is when expectations speak louder than assumptions, you achieve clarity. So it's about communicating purposefully, intentionally, and predictably so others can act with certainty.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that all boils down to the way we do what we do and the way we allow it to be done. And one of
Exactly.
the one of the things that we as leaders, a lot of times we have these blind spots that pop in. And blind spot really, I like to bring up blind spot alerts because we've all stepped in something we didn't see coming, and that's one of the things that for us, whenever we're a dictator, we just go communication all the way, and we're not worried about the culture, we're not worried about the connection, we're not worried about clarity. It's just kind of my way or the highway. That definitely leads to sometimes it leads to a whole lot of isolation. leads to a lot of self-inflicted bumps in the road. So hopefully today, as we walk through some of these things, really our whole goal is to try to put some handles on hope. This is just this hammer. Certainly, it's a tool that we can use for a lot of different things. You use it to drive nails in and everything, but also you can flip it over and use this tool as a weapon. You can use it as a tool to get if you're like me and you've hammered it in the wrong place or something like that, you need to pull it out. But the whole idea, everything we talk about today, is we're really just trying to put some handles on some hope. So, Emily, let's keep this rolling along. And we're going to talk about one thing that we've put together that's got 3 points, one that's got 2 points, and one that's got 1 point. So, Emily, take it away with the next thing.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the what in the exactly what to say world we refer to as the triangle of trust, or three critical ingredients for influential conversation. As Mike had mentioned, we are both exactly what to say certified guides, and that is a lot of words, and it's really, it comes down to there's a lot of information that we will share with you and we want to share with you, and that's our EWTS workbook. And something that, we're told from the very beginning of when we start working in the exactly what to say world is that it's going to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose. And it might feel like that today too. The best case scenario would be that you catch a couple of the drops. So we're gonna start with just sharing the triangle of trust. And it's I like to think of it as a dance, because it's not just one. You're not just going to go through curiosity, empathy, and courage, and then you're done, and that's it. That was a great conversation. It was nice talking to you. I'll talk to you next time. You're going to go around and around and around with your conversation partner. Um, so, starting with curiosity. Um, when was the last time that you talked with somebody that was so certain about themselves that it made you start to question your beliefs in them and your certainty in them? It's interesting that that level of like sureness of yourself can kind of lead to uncertainty in those around you or those people that you're conversing with. So, the key to reaching certainty is curiosity, and it's about staying so relentlessly curious that that you're getting so much context for the content that it doesn't make anything else but sense, to keep going on that way of thinking and on that way of talking. Um, we're all in the business of selling something, whether it's a service or your personal brand or an object itself. And selling is earning that right to make a recommendation. And something that Phil Jones says that coming from the healthcare sphere, I really appreciate is that you should never, ever, ever make a recommendation to someone without being able to say, because of the fact you said this, I recommend XYZ. And that's something that comes up in the hearing healthcare world all the time. And so, being able to stay in that place of curiosity and continue asking the questions. I tell the teams that I work with that if you think you understand a patient's concern, ask them three more questions, and just keep that conversation going until you are so certain that you understand what the problem is that they are facing, that you're able to make that true recommendation. Um, and staying curious long enough brings you to empathy. And Mike is going to take over and explain that leg of the triangle.
I appreciate that lead in. It's such a big deal to stay curious and then asking the question, what makes you say that? Why do you think that? What's your experience? There are several of those questions. And one of the things that a lot of times in leadership we don't do well is we don't put ourselves in the other person's seat. What's it like to be on the other side of me? It's a great question for a leader. And whenever you express empathy, what you're really doing is you're really becoming relatable. Instead of being a dictator and your eyebrows, finger in your face, and saying, "We will do it this way. It doesn't matter. I've come down from the mountain and I have all the answers." I guess not that at all. Whenever you start with curiosity and then you go with that leg of the triangle, then we come over to empathy, and really we want to make sure that it's making sense instead of continuing to move forward. Let me ask you this question: when was the last time you were on the receiving end of a conversation where there was only content but no context? Like you there was no making sure that this all makes sense, that this is understood, that we're all kind of all in the same place. We're all in this together. Bring in the Disney movie or whatever. Like there was no checking to make sure that we're all going in the same place. And I think for us as leaders, we definitely want to exude empathy. We want to lead with empathy. And really, the three best ways I know to develop empathy are: be quick to listen, be slow to speak, and be slow to get angry. And even if you're going to get angry, I'm not getting angry with you. I'm getting angry on your behalf. Like whenever we're empathetic, we're not trying to position us versus them or us against them. It's come to this side of the table, come to this side of the conversation. We're moving forward together. And in the workplace, so often it feels like it's us versus them instead of us and them versus it versus the thing. So that's why empathy is such a tremendous tool. In the goal in trying to develop empathy is to get some very good relatability. Emily, what comes after relatability? What comes after empathy that gets us to relatability?
Yeah, so that brings us to courage. And I love what you said, Mike, about it's you standing side by side, your teammates, your team members. As a leader, you're not in that authoritative role, or you're not really a good leader, but you're standing side by side, and it's we against it, whatever that it or concern or problem in the industry is. Um, so yeah, that does take us to courage. And with courage, you are able to drive action. You've developed that curiosity, you've reached empathy, you've created trust with your conversation partner because of curiosity and empathy. And so you're able to make that recommendation or ask that question and drive the conversation, drive the action forward. Um, without asking the question, without having the courage to ask the question, the answer is always going to be no. And so, coming back to again that dance is that you've got those curiosity questions, you have that curiosity mindset. Um, you're reaching empathy by hitting that show me that you know me button. Like, I help, by asking, help me understand how that makes you feel. What's your experience with, doing things a different way? But reaching empathy so that then you've got all of that context, like Mike had talked about, so that you can drive action. So you've got that courage. You feel like, yeah, I can ask the question and I'm pretty confident that I know what the answer is going to be. And then again, it's a dance. You're just on repeat: courage, empathy, and curiosity, empathy, and courage. Oh, one thing I did want to chat about on empathy, though, Mike, and I think you'll really appreciate this too because you are a big fan um, of John Acuff's work. Um, and so I love the way that he defines empathy as caring about what the people you care about care about. Um, and I don't think there's a better way to explain it.
Completely agree with that. In fact, I'm going to put that in the chat. I mean, that's such a good definition. And yeah, you're right. John is one of my heroes, speaking, writing, all that. So I appreciate you bringing John to our conversation today.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, so that is our triangle of trust, or the three critical ingredients for conversation. And then if we're jumping down, so we've got our 3, 2, 1. We are on two, um, and we're going to talk about values and visions and values. um, and this little section of our workshop this comes out of Mike's book, Communication Culture. Um, and I mean, I think that I dog-eared and wrote all over your book, Mike, but I think that chapter 16 is such a special one. And it's something that I refer to with the teams that I work with all the time when we do values refresh activities. And so I definitely, when we get to chatting about values, want to talk about your one-liner activity, and then also a values refresh activity that leaders could do with their whole team. Um, so yeah, okay. So vision, mission, and values. um, we've all been part of those organizations that have a really strong mission statement. But when was the last time that you were part of creating that mission statement? And as leaders, we often feel very strongly about our value statements and about our mission statements. Um, and want our teams to eat, live, and breathe our mission statement. But could it be possible that your team would feel more ownership over your brand or your business mission and vision statement if they were part of that creation of the statement itself? And I like to look at vision statements not as something that's concrete or set in stone. Like, sure, it's something that we've got plastered on the wall. It's something that we have on our posters or our brochures or our website and all of that. But I think that it has to be a living, breathing document, because your teams are going to change. I mean, you as the leader, you, Mike Conn, as CEO of Mike Conn Coaching, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to change, but your team is going to change, and your audience is going to change, and your industry is going to change too. And so having that, it all goes back to the triangle of trust too, like having that curiosity to ask the questions, is there a better way to do this? And the empathy to truly listen and hear what your team is reflecting on, and then the courage to drive that action to make the changes to your mission statement or your vision statement. And I think that a values vision refresh and your one-liner activity are really great ways to kind of reset and give the team ownership of that mission statement that you feel so proud of as a leader.
I couldn't agree more, Emily. And I mean, I love what you said there. Vision statements and mission statements need to be a living, breathing document because the people change. Like, it makes no sense to me, and you've worked with dozens of organizations. I've worked with dozens of organizations. It makes no sense to me when the organizational leader just points at the thing on the wall and says, "Yeah, that's what we do." Okay, is it what you do, or is it what you tell everyone that you
Yeah.
do? And even with a coach, be it your favorite sport, whatever it is, when a coach says, "Well, this is my philosophy, this is how I do it," and they say, in basketball, they say, "We're going to run fast and shoot a lot of 3 pointers." Well, that's awesome, unless you've got 5 centers on your team and you don't have any. You've got a bunch of people who play down low. Like we've got to be open to seeing, yes, what we want to do, where we want to go, and then who's on the team. Do we have enough players that can help us do that thing or not? And what we're not saying is the mission needs to be fickle. That's not what we're saying. We're saying you've got to have a mission and a place to go, and then be flexible enough to invite the players on your team to jump in and be part of the solutions that you provide. That's one of the reasons why it's such an impactful thing. In fact, I think it was a podcast with Donald Miller. It was for sure a podcast with Donald Miller when he's going in with StoryBrand to an organization. He encouraged one CEO. They had, I don't know, 40, 50 people in the organization, and he went to the bank and got like 500 $5 bills and just was walking around and said, "Hey, what's a mission statement?" And if they couldn't get it word for word, he just kept moving. He didn't throw shade at him, but if they could, he would pull out a $5 bill and hand it to him on the spot. Like, is that bribery? I mean, I don't know. Is that advertising? Like, I mean, there's lots of different ways to look at it. But what
Yeah.
he's doing is he's getting the buy-in, and that's what we're talking about. Get the buy-in to present it in a way that people could say, yes, I identify with that. And it would be awesome if that's part of what we have in our, in our interviewing process, certainly in our onboarding process when it comes in. Another great quote around this is by Jeff Henderson, and it's from his book, Know What You're For. And what he says is, vision that is rarely repeated is quickly forgotten. And
Mhm.
that's so good. A lot of times we get real precious with our vision or real precious with our art, and we make sure that, listen, this is the way we've come down from the mountain. We have all the answers. This is the only way to do communication culture because I wrote that, whatever, whatever. That's not what we're saying. Vision that's rarely repeated is quickly forgotten. It's not something you say once and then you just let it ride. Well, if it changes, I'll let you know. That's not how that works. So I appreciate you saying nice things about my book. It makes me feel good. You mentioned the one-liner exercise, which is on page 53 for people at home. Um, and it's very similar to creating a tagline, but it's actually not a slogan. It actually does these three things. What's the problem that our organization solves? How do we solve it? And then the results that our customers experience about the problem as a result of working with us. Which, it's very easy when someone says, "Hey, Mike, what do you do?" to say, "Well, I'm a professional speaker." And then they think, "Okay, well, I've heard a lot of speakers, so you're either somewhere between the best one and the worst one, and then all the good and the bad that comes with it." They're like, "Okay, swipe left. That's just what they did." Um, a better way to answer it. And this is what we want. We want to develop this tagline so then everyone in the organization, everyone at LeGrand Hearing, everyone at Mike Conn Coaching and Consulting, everyone at Emily Catherine Coaching, whenever someone says, "Hey, what do you guys do?" Instead of just giving a one or two word answer or telling the job function, we're saying, well, my actual one liner for Mike Conn Coaching and Consulting, I'll read it. We solve the problem of division and disunity in the workplace. We partner with organizations to move their team members to becoming teammates. And we do that by focusing on four key topics: communication and culture, execution and teamwork, leadership and supervision, personal discovery, development, and growth. Whenever anyone who works with me, when that is their response, when they say, "Oh, so you work with Mike, what do you guys do?" Well, instead of saying, "Well, we speak for a living," they're like, "No, we partner with organizations to move their team members to becoming teammates. We do that by focusing on four key topics." I say it really fast, which is why I read it: communication, culture, execution, teamwork, leadership, supervision, personal discovery, growth. Right? I say it so much, and then like people who live outside my brain are like, "Hey, listen to me, Linda. Slow down, Mike." Like, it doesn't do me any good to have my vision statement rehearsed so well that whenever I say it, I can rattle it off so fast, but nobody can understand it, right? So you want to make sure that the vision is clear. And another thing that I think is vital that we do, the vision and mission, that's typically an outward customer facing thing. So people know, okay, what do you do? How do you do it? The vision is where we're going. The mission is how we're going to get there. The core values are who we're going to become along the way. The key characteristics we want to embody, all that stuff. People, we go through a workshop, we come up with lots of different ways. That's fine. That's basically what we're talking about, but that's not inward focused. That's not going to develop a thriving workplace culture. That's simply going to say, well, this is what we do. So someone tell us what we do. So what we do when we partner with organizations, we actually take that mission statement that's outward facing, and we also do a mirroring statement that's inwardly facing. So we call it the team vision and value statement. And it's actually designed to be a guide for the way we treat each other within the organization. It's inward focused, internally focused, and it has the same four areas that are in the mission statement: the vision, the mission, the key characteristics, and then three things we're going to do every day to ensure that we do that. And all that comes down to one underlying truth. The relationships that you have within the organization will automatically be exported to your customers, to your clients, no matter what. You can't have company manners while we're talking to people outside of here, but then After the client leaves, after we hang up the phone, after the trade show's over, we come back and it's angry eyebrows, arms crossed, like we never we're adversaries instead of advocates for each other. That won't work. It might work for a minute, it might work for a little while. It's not sustainable because you can't live two different lives. You're Mike at work, Mike at home. You're Emily at work, Emily at home. You're all these different things that you do. You're Alex at work, you're Alex at home. Like all these different things that we do, but we have to be on the same page at work. Let me say it differently. To the extent that we're not on the same page at work, we will export that confusion and that friction to our customers that we're trying to serve. And when that happens, customers go find someone else that's a little bit less friction to deal with. Emily, you have any other thoughts about the vision and values portion of our chat today?
Yeah, I love what you said, Mike. It's so true that, if your team is not like, so for example, say one of your values as a team, you're a customer facing organization, and one of your values is excellence. And you know, I, I mean, I know working with a lot of front office teams that occasionally I will hear a phone conversation with a patient and a team member and cringe like, oh, no, no, that's not how we would answer that question actually. Like that's not what we would say. And so it's moments like that that really make you as a leader pause and think like, okay, so yeah, we've got excellence plastered on our values board, but are we really providing an excellent patient experience to every patient every time? Um, and so I love what you said about this team focused, this team focused values, that it really is a mirror for how you are treating your customers or your patients or your clients. Um, and so I did want to share one of the activities that I love doing with teams that I work with, and I encourage teams to do it annually, but quarterly is awesome too, because I mean, depending on the industry that you're in, you could have pretty high turnover. But you're really just as a group throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like throw out all of the values that you currently say your business adheres to right now, and then go through your team. Like, are there other values that you feel like you at home, like Mike at home, that you exhibit versus Mike at work? What are those values? Could they fit into our team values? And a lot of the times they do. And so it's giving this opportunity for the teams to really reflect and look at like, oh yeah, I am really family oriented at home, and I am really family oriented at work too. And so like I do want to treat every patient that comes in the door like they're, my neighbor or a close friend, and I'm going to call them by their name, and I know what beverage they like to drink, and so really embodying those values that you say that you are, so that your actions are actually reflective of that person on the the person on the page that you say you are.
Yeah, I love that. And that really does go back to the culture. Then it's not like a set it and forget it. It
Yep.
really is a constant. The thing I love about that, Emily, is you're trying to leverage at work the stuff that people are already excelling at outside of work. And I think that's a tremendous opportunity. Plus, you're going to help the people who work in the organization when you're asking them for input. You're going to help them feel seen and feel valued. And it's not like we're wondering it's not like they're wondering do they have a say in it or not. They really are getting to reshape every quarter, every year, however often it is. I think it's a great practice. And when you do it, the easy thing that sometimes I forget, let's keep it in out of our blind spot, make the alert, right? After you do that, you reflect, reevaluate, then you just update in the bottom right hand corner, updated, June of 2025. Awesome. Then oh, we haven't looked at this. We haven't made any changes since June of, you know, 2000. Okay, well, things are a little different today than they were in June of 2000. Like so it's just a reminder too. And listen, we're all busy. We all do a whole lot of stuff, and that means sometimes some stuff can fall through the cracks. So I think it's a great practice even to set it on your calendar. Like, let me ask you this: whenever you're working with the organizational leaders and you're pitching this idea, how do you help them keep it in front of them? Like, you ask them to go out 90 days and set a task on their through their CRM or on their calendar. Well, what's your give us a little coaching. How would you coach us up to build that into the rhythm so we're looking at the vision value statement on a regular basis?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Mike. And I think that, it doing it annually, that's really bare minimum. And so annually, I would encourage every team, every leader to run through a strategic planning meeting with their teams annually. Go through a SWOT analysis, look at what's working, what's not, what are your opportunities, what are your threats, where can you grow as a team? And so that's definitely first and foremost. If you're not doing a strategic planning meeting with your team, and you're in a leadership role, definitely encourage that. And then, yeah, I love setting tasks. So, I mean, we work with a CRM that's pretty specific to audiology. But you could set a task in just about any CRM. And I am a big fan of tasks. So yeah, set it. And it's kind of one of those things that you're like, well, set it and forget it because it's going to pop back up because you have it recurring. Um, so yeah, definitely setting a task, put the date out three, 3, 4, 5 months, maybe, depending on how high your turnover is, really. I mean, if you've got a really tight-knit team, you can maybe get away with a little bit longer in between. But I think to every industry and every business, as anyone that is taking on employees and building a team is going to go through seasons of high turnover. And then that's resulting in a lot of onboarding. And um, it's been really great. The team that I work with right now has been very consistent, but it was not always like that, and it is a lot more expensive to bring on new people than it is to value the people that you have, and build them up, and kind of also looking at the values refresh as a team. I think it reinforces who your team is for.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's a really good segue to your most powerful three-letter word in the English language, Mike.
No, I thought that might be where you're going. It is the most powerful three-letter word in the English language that's not a deity, and it's for, F-O-R. And it's one that most people forfeit because it's so much easier to be known by what you're against, both online and off. It's so much easier to put our fist in the air and say, "We're not gonna take it," right? And say, you can't do this to me. You can't take this away. You can't this." And as a leader, it looks like angry eyebrows, finger in your face. Well, that's not how we do it here. And then again, now we're adversarial instead of being advocates for one another. And it'll change everything. We could have four things we're going to write on a quadrant. We've got this sheet of paper. We've got these four things that you got to do to be successful at your job, whatever your job is. These are the four things it takes to be successful. Number one, you got to show up. Number two, you got to be on time. Number three, you got to do your job. Number four, you got to stay in your lane. Okay, whatever the four things are, that's almost irrelevant to the conversation. But you go in and you fill all four of those in, and then if you were to copy and paste this, you got two documents, both with four quadrants, both have identical, these are the four things you got to do. But then on this side, in the very center, you've got a bullseye and you've written the word FOR and you go outside, you go backwards. Then it becomes, well, Emily, if you want to advance, since you want to advance at LeGrand Hearing, yes, you got to show up on time. But man, you don't just have to show up on time. You've got to be here. We've got to be able to depend on you. This isn't angry eyebrows. You either get in or you get out. Like it's not that. It's because of the fact that you said you want this, and I'm for you. I want you to get those things. Okay, cool. Because as your leadership grows, your personal leadership grows, times everyone in the organization, the whole leadership of the organization will grow. The whole function of the organization will grow. So, of course, as the CEO of the organization, I want to be for you. I want you to know that I'm for you. And then, yeah, let's even go a little further. I want to tell you that I'm for you. Of course, because if you're anything like me, you got a whole bunch of voices in your head that sometimes they're not actually bringing up the good things that you do, the things that you're known for. Another part of my business is I speak in schools and I help students navigate social emotional challenges. And the reason that I do that is because that's actually how my business started. I started going into schools because I heard a lot of people say kids these days. And when someone starts a sentence with kids these days, you know it's not going to end well. And I just started thinking, well, people that started with kids these days really probably don't know much about kids these days. And I wanted them to know. I went in with a little note card and had four things on it. These four things that I said to them, just as a citizen in our community, and one of them was "I'm for you." I wanted them to know there's a dude in their community who's for them, and it's the single most impactful thing I believe you could do as an organizational leader. Now, not to justify what you're already doing. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in our third session with feedback. Like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you make it a point, you've got your roster of everyone who works on our team, and realizing if you've got a big team, it's going to take you a minute. I understand that. But the goal would be not that I hope they know that I'm for them, because a really good question, and I referenced a book earlier by Jeff Henderson. It's a great book. It's called Know What You're For. It's a fabulous question. Who are you for? It's a great question, and it definitely informs our vision, our mission, values, all that stuff. Of course it does. And I think an even better question is who knows that you're for them? That changes everything because people will follow you to the extent that they know that you're for them. But if they don't know that you're for them, then they might obey out of compliance. I love to ask this question in sessions. Do you want people to follow you or obey? And if you're anything like me, the answer is both. Like it's very demonstrative, Incredible Hulk style sometimes, depending on the day, depending on what's going on. But if we're going to be honest, I would rather people follow me. But then, okay, then the question for the dude in the mirror, hey, Mike, what can you do today to become a leader worth following? To turn up the dial on your own leadership? Because as John Maxwell says, before you lead other people, first you got to learn to lead the person in the mirror. So really, then that gets back to, hey, when you're looking in the mirror, are you telling the message to that person that you're for them? Don't answer that. Because for most of us, that's not only no, there's some sort of adjectives in front of it or a lot of demonstrative language, however deep you want to get. And then we project that everyone else feels that same way. So then if your boss says, hey, nice job, you're like, well, what do you mean? Like, like, is he just kidding? Is she just kidding? Is it facetious? Was it passive aggressive? Like, what do they actually mean? One of the best things we can do, and it does go back to our three C's. It's the culture, the way we do what we do, and the way we allow it to be done, the connection that you have with everyone in the organization, and then clarity. Don't assume that people know what you mean or that what the vision means as much to them as it does to you, or the people that you're serving, or the product launch. Don't assume that people who've never heard of Mike Conn at all would go to Amazon and buy a book about communication culture and assume the best about it. So it's a struggle that all of us have. And there are four quick ways you can help people know that you're for them. The first one is just to tell them face to face because people need it different ways. The second one is do a voice memo. my phone is riddled with voice memos. And I love voice memos because I can listen to them when I need it. And when I'm sending a voice memo, then I'm sending it to the other person. They may not need to hear it right now, but whenever they do need to hear it, it's an easy punch back up they can bring in. Another way you can do that is make a video. However, on the video, don't forget to tell your face. Like you could make a video with angry resting face on it, and it'd be like, I mean, I meant, I don't know how you could get there from here. What I said the right thing. Yeah. But you said it with angry eyebrows and the whole thing. Like it made no sense to me sending conflicting messages. Really, what I'm saying, and a handwritten note also goes a long ways. Those are the four things. A handwritten note goes a long ways. Now, it doesn't matter to me. I don't have a preference on how you choose to let someone know that you're for them, but I'm emphatic that you do. It doesn't matter to me how you do it. I don't have a preference on how you do it, but it is vital that you do it. It's one of the best things that you can do to turn up the locker room, to increase the culture in the organization, to turn up the dial of what's going right in the locker room. So one of the questions I love to ask is, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being awful, 10 being awesome, rate your current culture of communication in the locker room. How would you rate the communication coming from the leadership to the frontline managers? I don't. It depends on how big the organization is, but leadership 101 is what gets rewarded, gets repeated. And so if I'm building in that in the culture to helping my leaders feel seen and valued and put handles on hope so they can do that same thing with the people who report to them, now the whole temperature of the organization is going to go up in a great way. However, it's in our blind spot. If we don't, we can't just assume that they know that we're for them. Last thing on this one, and then we can move on. I had a boss one time. We had this problem that was in our community that we had been working hard to come up with a solution. So I came up with a solution. I don't think it was the best solution, but it was a solution. So I brought the solution in a meeting that we had, and my boss, he said, "Well, Mike, I'll tell you something. I'm not going to be in your way. I'm not going to stand in your way." And he might as well have said, "That's the worst idea I've heard all day." Like it wasn't that he didn't say the wrong thing, but he certainly didn't help me know that I was that he was for me in that moment. And that's what I'm talking about. Let's go above and beyond to help people know that we're for them. Um, and there's not really a wrong way to do that, except to not do it, because then you can even say, well, if it comes back and I bring it up in a way that I thought was good. I write a handwritten note. You're like, great. I love voice memos. Like, what are you, stuck in the Stone Ages? I don't know, maybe. But then I can say, well, I'm sorry, that wasn't my intent. My intent was to let you know that I'm for you. What would be a better way of me letting you know that I'm for you? It's a simple thing that we want to do in leadership to just change the perspective of the conversation. It's not just one size fits all. That's again the trouble we get into if we just push the content without adding context. So that being said, we're moving on to our lightning round of things. We're calling it lightning round because this is our workshop and we can call it what we want. We're calling it a lightning round. The first thing is perspective changers. And simply a perspective changer is just something where we're just letting someone else know that maybe what we see is different than what they see. For example, I'm holding up a book right here, and Emily, the thing that you see probably is the book, but the thing that I see is the pen that I'm holding behind the book. So there's no way for you to see it because you're on the opposite side, but it's a perspective change. Instead of me trying to make it me against you, I show you what I see, and then now we're on the same page. So a really good perspective changer. I love what you typed there. The first one is, when was the last time? We've got these. These come from our exactly what to say role play deck of cards. Perspective changers. When was the last time? So I'll ask this and bring it up. When was the last time you walked into work believing that your workplace culture was thriving? And you might say it was just this morning. I'm so glad you asked. Thank you so much, Mike. What a great question. Uh, that's not most of our experience. It's normally in our blind spot. We're not coming to the day thinking it's going to be fabulous. Let me get in here and make it a great day. Okay, there's a cheese factor there. Let's not overdo it that part. But the whole idea, again, is to make sure that people know This is who we are. This is what we're trying to do. So the question, first perspective changer in a lightning round. So I'm talking real fast. When was the last time? When was the last time you walked into work believing that your workplace culture was thriving? Emily, what else are perspective changers that we could bring in?
Yeah. When was the last time you walked into your workplace believing your culture was thriving? How certain are you that your coworkers, teammates feel that your workplace culture is thriving? Like Mike had said, sometimes we walk into work and, it could have been this morning. I will be perfectly honest, for me, that was the case. We're expanding right now and it's super exciting. I'm super excited about it. There's a lot of emotions when you're expanding a business. And so, something was moved around in someone else's office and it wasn't done as a slight, but it was kind of like, hey, I'm just going to stash this here until we get to move it into the new office. Hope that's all right. And it definitely wasn't all right for the person whose office was getting filled up with stuff that doesn't usually go there. And so, when I came in this morning, I was like, how's everybody feeling? Let's do a temperature check, like things are things are moving along. The contractor's starting at the new office tomorrow. Like this is happening. And my teammate who is feeling like her office is becoming a storage space was like, I'm not feeling it. I am not feeling the excitement about the move. Like I am feeling the pressure. And so it was this moment where I was like, okay, take a deep breath and like, okay, yeah, talk to me about that. Like that shouldn't have happened. A box of stuff should not have gotten put into your office. That's not where it goes. We have a storage shed out back. Like let's work through this. And then, we do morning huddles. And that's another thing that I love to, I'm not a pusher, but I will definitely push morning huddles on any organization. They are so important. Just get together for 5, 10, 15 minutes, however much time you've got available, and just talk about what's going well, what's going not so great, your liked bests and next times, LBs and NTs. And then also like what barriers do you have? In this case, the barrier was that our office felt like it was becoming a storage unit. Like I can fix that. I think we can change that right now. Um,
Such a great perspective. It's such a great, it's, is it a hassle to have a stand-up meeting or a 5-minute meeting every day? I mean, yeah.
yeah.
However, is it it's all trade-offs. Would you rather have that hassle and then have the eye contact that the old old-fashioned FaceTime, have that FaceTime with everybody and say, okay, now even to today's point, the culture, the connection, the clarity, like you build that in, it's baked into the culture when you do that. And you can ask the perspective changer questions. When was the last time you came into work excited about it? How certain are you that today's going to be a great day? And then people say whatever they say, but they'll say it with their words, but they'll say it better with their face, right? Like being able to read what they say. However, if you don't do that, you're forfeiting the opportunity. So yes, it's a pain. Dot dot dot. Which pain do you want? Yes, it's
Yeah.
hard. Which hard do you want? Do you want the hard of having to deconstruct and then reconstruct the culture? Or do you want to build it in and say, hey, this is how we do. Like it's just that meeting. This is what we do. This is how we do it. And it's not the only thing. It's not even the most important thing. However, when we go a day or two or a few, however long that is, without it, then all the goodness of culture starts to erode. The trust starts to erode over time. Especially in your particular case, if that nice lady, your teammate who felt like their office got turned into storage, if if you didn't ask the question, how are we feeling today? She wouldn't have not still felt the way she was feeling. You just wouldn't know about it. And so then she's walking around carrying that, not only that, but whoever the probably well intentioned person who dropped the thing off for right now would not have thought I grossly offended this person. They just would have, what's wrong with her or whatever the situation is. So I love that you do that. You build that in. It's not theoretical. It's something you actually do as the operations manager of that organization. I think that's fabulous. Thanks for bringing that to the conversation. Now, let me ask you this, Emily. If you go with the when was the last time question, when was the last time you walked into the office and you felt like the workplace was thriving? How certain are you that other people in the organization also feel like it's thriving? A great vision casting question that's also one of our perspective changers is, could it be possible? Could it be possible that if you implement even one of these tools today that we've outlined, that it's going to turn up the dial on the culture in your organization? Emily, what's another way that you would say, could it be possible? Even, I mean, feel free to use the example you were just talking about with your teammate, when you go back to the person who dropped the trash can in the room or whatever the stuff was, who made it a makeshift storage facility. What's another way you could use the could it be possible? However you want to use it. This isn't our role play activity, but give us an example of a way that you might do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so, had the situation not come to me and had me kind of intervene, and I'm not a perfect leader. I'm definitely the first, like, I will admit that I do not delegate. I'm definitely the person that's like, oh, that's in your office space, no problem. Yeah, Mike is exactly the same way. We're
You
like,
and me
not,
both. Yeah,
I'll just take that out of your office. And oh, while I'm on the way to the storage shed, geez, it looks like we need to restock all of the toilet paper. So I'm going to bring the toilet paper back in. And then nobody took the trash out yet. Okay, I'm going to go and do that. I do have to hop in a meeting like, oh, 5 minutes ago. Okay, what I don't need to be doing all of those things. I need to delegate. And so I think that's a good reminder, just in general, for leaders that maybe struggle with that. But I mean, yeah, I coached her for the next time because there's gonna be a next time. Our storage shed is in the back. You've got to get a key. It's not as easy as just coming into this downstairs office and being like, I'm just gonna stash this here. It's in the corner. It's out of your sight. It's kind of fine, right? Could it be possible that you could go and put it in the storage shed?
absolutely.
It is.
I mean, that sounds very simple. Could it be possible, Emily, that it's that easy? I mean,
I mean,
yeah,
again, going back to that courage to drive action, that suitcase is going to stay in your office unless you ask, could it be possible that this gets moved to the storage shed? It's the answer is always no if you don't ask.
that's
So
right.
I think a lot of these tools that we're sharing today and these implementations, they take practice and they take time, but I think it's that well-intentioned effort that
Uh,
we can boost and shift morale in your workplace.
That's so good. Hey, this is our 5 minute timer. That means good news is we have made it through the first, 90% of 95% of our session today, maybe. I should have done the math ahead of time. I didn't. But here and we've come through the lightning round. Um, let's do a quick refresh, Emily, a quick rewind of what we've done so far today, and then we'll lean into what happens next.
Perfect. Love it. Okay, so we shared the trust triangle. All of these things come back to the three C's of a thriving workplace: culture, connection, and clarity. Um, 3, 2, 1, our trust triangle, and values and visions.
The vision is where we're going.
The
Uh,
vision's where we're going. The mission is how we get there. It's those behaviors that drive that action. And then the values, it's what our team is actually valuing and implementing and showing clients and patients and customers that, this is who we are, and that we are for you. The most powerful three-letter word in the English language, for. Um, yeah, and then our lightning round, our perspective changers. So what happens next is we're gonna do this again, but all new content.
I, now let me speak for the audience, but both live here and then also on replay. Emily, when you say new content, is it content that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about today, or is it something that might build on itself?
It totally builds on itself. There's a lot of value to come to all three of our sessions.
Right.
If you can't make it to all three of them, that's okay. We will miss you, and you'll miss out a little bit. Um, but yes, it all builds on itself in giving you all of the tools available to really create a thriving workplace.
Absolutely. All of the sessions are free. All three of these have to do with how to build a thriving workplace culture. All three of these are going to be centered around the culture, connection, and clarity, different parts of each time. It's not only culture one time, only connection one time, only clarity one time. That's all interwoven. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for you. Same Zoom link, but not the same content and not the same time. So we've already got it set up for the next week's session. It's going to be Tuesday, and for those watching on replay, it's going to be Tuesday the 17th, and that one is going to be in the evening for everybody. I have the times written down on something else.
I'm pulling up
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
flyer
Oh, look,
shared.
there you
Uh,
go. Already got it ready to roll. So that's
there.
the one for next week on the 17th,
Yep.
7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific. There's that Zoom link already right there. Look at those pictures, man. John, a big shout out to John D'Amato delivering magic as he does all the way around. Um, so we're doing that on the 17th. And then on the 24th, we're still doing that same Zoom link, still on a Tuesday, but that time we're doing it at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, and 12 noon Pacific. We're doing that on purpose because we're trying to give people from all over the place opportunities to show up live, to put these handles on hope, to engage in the conversation. Emily, we've got about 30 seconds left. What other I want to say thank you so much to you for being part of this, for bringing yourself to it. What other things do you have, things we need to know about this as we're wrapping up?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Thank you for being here. And I guess I would just say, who do you know that you could bring with you next time? Who do you know that would also like to learn exactly how to turn team members into teammates?
Love that. Absolutely. Such a great way to finish. And then connect with us on Instagram. That's the best place to have conversations with us. Just show up in our messages. Time has run out. So we've had a wonderful time of being with you guys today. Thank you so much. Emily, loved it. Alex, thanks for joining us. And we will share this recording on all the socials. And we would love to see you again on the 17th. Have a wonderful day.